And Deepak, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Dana, for setting the stage. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you are. So today, we'll talk about UI automations in UiPath, how we can achieve it, what all quick fixes we can use it to perform UI automation. So this will be a detailed session. I do have a couple of examples to be covered here. So and feel free to raise any questions in the chat. We'll be happy to answer it. So today's agenda is on UI automations, how to use recording tools as well as table extractions. Please confirm if you're able to see my screen. Maybe Dina or Revati.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Now, first questions always comes in our mind. What is UI automation? So UI is nothing but a user interface where we are interacting with the screen, pages, visual elements like buttons. We are typing actions or we are performing actions through keyboards as well as some shortcut keys, which enable us to interact with the applications. That applications varies from web-based or desktop-based applications. Sometimes we are using Citrus environment as well. That also comes under this itself. So user interface automation is a process of interacting the visual elements or trying to perform any actions on desktop as well as web-based applications. And normally this is done through simulating keyboard inputs, mouse movements or clicks, as well as recording the screen. In UiPath, we have options to select any actions which we are performing manually that can get recorded very quickly. We have to perform this in background, and whenever we will save this, what happened? All the steps which we have captured are able to easily replicate it. And next time onwards, we don't have to perform this actions manually. We can directly use the solutions or we use this process into our automation itself, which we can see it in latter part. Now, when it comes to the keyboard input, sometimes while performing the automations, we need to press number keys, alphabets, or some functions, or maybe some shortcuts. Those are called as hotkeys in UiPath language or automations language. When we are performing mouse movements or clicks, it is normally up and down scroll or navigations. We can also do left and right as well as left click or right click. These are the operations which we can do it. Sometimes when we are visiting to the sites, what happened? We are normally hovering the concerns or the target elements. Those hoovers can also be converted as a part of automations. And as I mentioned, recording or screen recording is another way where we can do the actions. To summarize all those, including everything, we are turning this into the automations space. And because these interactions are on the screen, which we are performing, that's the reason it's called as user interface automation. Now, when we are talking about the automations vertical, in terms of UiPath Studio, these activities are divided into two parts. One, input actions as well as output actions. If we have to perform or select any regions, normally with the mouse click, we are doing click. And this actions is called as under input category. Type into it means we have username and password field and we wanted to enter any informations within this. That's where we are using type into. So normally whenever we will have text boxes, we wanted to enter any informations. That's where we can use type into. Select item, it means consider we have one actions where list of items are present, like state or country name. So within this, we'll get lot of options to be selected. That's where select item will act as a options. Check and uncheck, normally we are using for the check boxes. Maybe if you are selecting based on the informations which is present on the screen. This all we are collecting the user inputs. When we wanted to share these informations on the screen, generally that's where automations plays crucial role, where output fails. Extracting the text fields or getting website URL, getting activity window or extract data table. Those all items comes under output. And to use all this activity, normally we are using use applications or browser. And here in right side, you can see all those actions are listed. So these all are UiPath Studio activities. By using these actions, we can perform your automations. And it's very simple enough, which we'll see one by one in later stages. Now, let me go to the studio before talking about the recording. Here, whenever you launch UiPath Studio, generally in home, if you are using the older versions, the versions before 2022.10, now or in between 22.10 to 24.5 or 4 releases, you have to enable modern experience. If you are using latest versions, you don't have to do any settings. But if you are using older version, generally navigate into the general settings and from here enable modern experience. If you have not enabled it, probably you won't see the modern experience images or the activities or actions which we have, normally anchor fields for the field extractions or selections. Generally, we use that. To start with your automations, we need some example sites. Let me open it. Consider we have one application where login page exists where we have username and password. These two are text boxes and these are our labels. Finally, this is also a part of label itself. Let's start with this automations. Try to extract informations as well as try to fill some inputs using this site. So we'll start with opening a open browser or applications. So I will just drag and drop activities where we have to indicate applications to be automated. You can also generate with autopilot, but this is the latest features. I would suggest start with this and then you can jump into it because this is our base and this is by using Gen AI capabilities. UiPath is helping us to automate those things. Probably we can have the sessions later on, not in this one. Now, whenever I will select, it will try to get complete URL data so that, let me just minimize it. Okay. Now, if you can see here, whenever I will select indicate on screens, it will try to get the URL informations. It will store into the browser URL. And under this, we can use other input activities which we have talked about. Now, if you are really interested to understand the properties of this activity, you can see it here. We'll see one by one each and everything just for the sheet of automations. See here and we'll see common input arguments, file path, everything is listed here. So we'll go one by one, don't worry. I'll just keep this window open. Now, our next action is I wanted to extract these username and password. Totally depending on the activity or actions which we have on the site, we will get these informations in one field. If this application itself is used as a label, this entire thing, then we have to extract this. And as per the previous sessions, that is data manipulation, you can split this part and get just admin, which will use it for doing the login on the sites. That means the username and password fields will get it here and feed this informations into these text boxes. So here the first activity is get text. We'll use just drag and drop get text activity and try to indicate the fields which you wanted to target it. Now, whenever I will hover this, you can see the select options window appears. Just click on this, it will try to get the informations related to this field. And as you can see here, this is highlighted in orange, which means it is trying to get the informations in duplicates. If there is any duplicates found, that will be highlighted with yellow. So before we'll save this, let's understand what is the all configurations about it and what all fields we have to make sure that so that we can get the exact or desired output based on our automations. So we'll see one by one. Now, whenever I set duplicate values under the duplicates value, if you want to show the duplicates, just click on this and based on the anchor, you will get the informations. But here, if you are happy with this, select confirm and this will get added. But whenever I will start executing this entire thing, next time I might get an error. To resolve it, I will just go again and if you realize this is indicate descriptor. So first of all, before we talk about other automations, understand what is descriptor. So in UiPath, descriptors are used in CV activities as well as any activities which identify and interact with the user interfaces or user elements on the screen. Descriptors provide structured way to define the properties of an element as well as making it easier for the developer or UiPath developer to recognize and interact with the UI components, even whether their appearances or positions. Based on that, we will get the exact locations for automations. So again, if I will just select this, it will generate the selectors. And from here, you can see we have strict selector as well as fuzzy selector. There's definitely a detailed sessions planned for these selectors. So I will just touch base each of these two things. And whenever the selector sessions will be there, it means in the next session itself, that is for session 4, where the person will cover each and everything in detail. So what does it means by strict selectors and fuzzy selector? Normally, strict selectors we are using for our previous or classic mode. Fuzzy selector is advanced version where you'll have entire thing highlighted within this and your automations will run smoothly. And based on this selections, you will get a output. You can see here, whenever I'll select strict selector, I can see just tag, web controls, and this paragraph. For this selector, we have the entire things, the tag, type, and the class name as well. It means for this selector is giving more elements so that automations will run perfectly fine. And we can also, this is a part of target elements. But when we are selecting the Windows selectors, you can see application's name is visible. That is app chrome.exe and the title is orange HRMS. You can see this is the title. And inside the configurations, under the options, you will have interactive for the selector, and this is as a part of waiting page load, or it's trying to get the page loaded unless and until it will not start the automations. That's the command we are passing in. And after that, if I wanted to just add the anchor, I will select the anchor and we'll have this anchor added. And you can see this complete selections is made with green in color. Once we are done, either we have to select confirm or you can just click on this sign tick. This is added now. Because we are trying to get informations, I wanted to store this extracted informations into one variable where I will just press Ctrl K and save this result. So here we'll add variable name as save result and hit enter. Now, if you want to see the properties of this, just select it and we'll have the complete properties listed. Now, to make you understand, let's go one by one what all properties we have and how it matters under the automation itself. So as I mentioned, descriptors are the majorly part of all the actions, and based on that, these informations will populate. Now, when we are selecting the input, so because this is the output, here you won't have any input parameters for at least for this one. But when we have the other input fields or activities, that's where we can see the input. Now, next part is for, we go to this. These all are selectors. Whichever selectors we have selected, you can see it here. Strict selector, if you have selected image based, native text or computer visions, based on the selections, it will get highlighted. This is as for the anchor. Now input elements, we don't have any input elements. That's the reason it's blank. Options here. This is a new feature of healing agents. That's the reason these options are highlighted. And output, if we have created a variable where we are storing it. The other thing is when we are using the common factor, under this we have 5 options. Continue on error is specified if an automation should contains even when the activities throw an error. This will only supports when we have Boolean value. So it means if we have the Boolean value like true and false, then only it supports during the automations. And the default value is always set to false. If you wanted to make the changes, definitely you can make it a true. But if you have not defined anything, it means it will remain same, that is in false conditions. So if the field is blank or an error, it throws the executions or the project stops. And if the value is set to true, the execution of the project continues regardless of any error. Next is delay after. It will add delays in seconds. By default, the time is in seconds between the time of this activity is completed and the time the next activity begins an operations. So consider we have 2 activities, one activity for the get text, other activity for type into. So it will add a delay. By default, delay time is 40 seconds. It will add delay. Any questions do you have? Or if you're not speaking, please make yourself mute. No, so I was explaining it will add the by default delay of 30 seconds, which can be modified, sorry, 0.3 seconds. Normally the time is in milliseconds. So you have to consider in milliseconds, and by default delay time is 0.3 seconds, that is 30 milliseconds. And adding the delay between the activity ensures that whenever automation runs, it will give enough time to be taken while performing the next actions. Third is delay before. Why these all are important? Because UI automations are very important part in any automations industry, and this always matters because sometimes application screen are slow. That's where we are adding it. So as per the third term, delay before, name itself call out the purpose of this activity. It will add time to the previous activity is completed, and the time this activity begins, the automations will continue running. We have display name, so whatever names it's added into the activities that will get highlighted. And finally, the timeout. So they specify the amount of time in seconds to wait for the activity to be executed before throwing an error. So if we have added 30 seconds, it will wait till 30 seconds and then it will throw an error. Example is, consider we are searching for this orange HRMS login page, and this orange HRMS is not loaded till 30 seconds, then it will throw an error. This website is not reachable or not visible. Now in scraping method, because we are trying to extract the informations, we have total 4 options listed: default, text attributes, full text, as well as native. What does it mean? When we have default action selected, so this goes through possible scraping methods like text attributes, full text in that order, and stops at the first method that returns true or that returns data. The only reason to change the default method is if it returns a text but does not write one, we will have at least something available. It will move to the next method. But if we have selected text attributes and the informations which we are trying to extract it is not in text attributes, probably that's where we'll get an error. So that's the reason normally we are keeping as default. Text attributes is the second methods of scraping or extracting that extract only text attributes value for the specified UI elements or the target elements which we are selecting. Full text is majorly extracting the full text of an UI elements, including its child elements. This method is useful when we want to extract the full text of the container elements that contains multiple child elements. So consider the previous example. This is my complete container, and under that I'm having two child items, username and password with some value. So if I'm just trying to extract the complete container, it will extract the complete container itself, which will have username and password both. And this is useful when we want to extract a lengthy amount of data which is present on the screen. And then finally, the native method. So this native method is generally used for extracting the visible text for this specified UI element. So this is about input. Next is target. Under the target, we can add as many as anchor we want. So the target element must be set before indicating on screen. This field is set to null. Once the target is indicated, it will get updated. And under this, we have CV control type. Because this actions indicates the type of control identifies the computer visions, then only we'll have some data. We are not using any CV activities that says almost everything is blank except this fuzzy selector. because at the time of extractions, we have added it. Now, because we try to extract the username fields, let me populate this value on message box and see how results will look like. So because we have created a variable save result, let me store it and try to run it. Now post executions, you can see we have extracted username as admin. If we wanted to see the entire extractions detail, just go to here, edit target, click on edit descriptor. We'll see under the target elements, here you have to just select spread selector and go for UI Explorer. Now, in UI Explorer, we have all the possibilities related to elements. This is definitely going to be covered in next sessions. I'm just touch basing because we are talking about your automation. Under this, we have name, and you can see this entire name is under one label or under one class. That's the reason we have it. And if you wanted to use this, extract the complete label informations and try to do string manipulations. If it is possible, you are able to detect the complete screen itself or the target element itself. You can get those informations extracted. So that's the UI Explorer part. And here you can see all this visible insert text and everything. Whichever informations you want, just select this and this will get added into the selectors. If you want, you can remove it, validate and post that, close this. Generally, this is available under strict selector itself. Fuzzy selector is the advanced model where we does not require any modifications. Same thing if you are doing for the Windows selectors, you can also open this UI Explorer and try to do the modifications if by default selectors are not working. Okay. Next thing is, let me go to which options, confirm. Because we are able to see this result, it means our automation is working fine. Let's try to understand other characters, what we have in this. Input and output elements, as I mentioned, we can create or input. If you want to store as a results, you can add under the output or save result. Okay, now let me try to add type into so that we can add something. Before we'll proceed with this one, whenever you're starting with any UI automations, make sure to check this package will be installed. If you are not able to see it, whenever you'll drag and drop activities, generally in latest versions, it will consider installing it. If not, then you have to go to the manage packages and from there try to search for the your automations activity package and get it installed. Unless and until you'll not install this, you won't be able to see these activities or actions present within our project automations. Now, when I selected type into is also having similar kind of properties, some fields here and there. Here you can see common exactly entire thing is available. Input, as of now, we have not used any data. That's reason it's not added anything. That's blank. Target, what all target elements we have? Text, display name, expected result, retry. How many number of retry you wanted to add it? You can just define it. If you wanted to give the retry count of 5, it will try to run the executions or perform these actions for next 5 times. Whenever they will get an error, it will continue doing the same step again and again unless and until it will not hit this counter. Next, we have these options where hardware events or Chromium API will trigger. Let me just try to fetch this piece and then I will explain you what does it means. I'm just selecting username. I wanted to give some anchor. That's it. Next is Windows, and here we have options. So exactly same options as get highlighted. If you wanted to do the perform the selections on hover, you can just select this. If you wanted to build through images, that is also possible. And while doing the indications, you'll also get an option to select it. If you want to keep this auto, that is fine. Otherwise, you can select UI automations or active accessibility. As of now, our purpose is met, so nothing to worry about it. Now we'll keep as confirm. Under this, whatever informations you want to drive, you will just add it. I'm just adding direct value, but if you're already aware of it or if you've already attended the last sessions, I would expect you to do the string manipulations and try to make it this process as per the dynamic, because static field is not accepted in automations. So I will just remove this step and this one as well, just to see if my automation is running. So whenever I will execute, it will go to a page, launch the site and enter the admin. Here we have output generated. It try to enter the informations. An empty field before typing is this one. So you can see single line and shift home delete. If you want, we can select it or you can keep it single. Before typing, here we have clicked single, and that's the reason we are able to successfully perform these actions. Now, as I mentioned, we have total 4 options, and that options or input mode. Let's try to understand it. What all input modes we have. So first is a same as app and app or browser. So whichever app or browser by default functionality it is using, whenever we'll select this, it will perform same actions like app or browser. So this is the input mode, which is collected or gathered through application itself. Sorry. Now, in next field, we have hardware events. So when we are selecting the hardware events, it uses the hardware driver to perform the actions. This is the slowest method. It cannot work in the background, but it is compatible with all the desktop applications. So here, if you're selecting this, the purpose of the meaning of selecting hardware event is generally hardware driver to perform the actions, and this is majorly a slowest one, and it can work only in the background, but it is compatible for the desktop application itself. Second is simulate. So simulate using accessibility APIs recommended for browsers, Java based applications, SAP, or any other enterprise applications. Usually it's more reliable than hardware events since all text in the single actions works even if target app is not in focus. And when we are testing it, when we are using it, target applications UI elements support this simulate. Third is Chromium API. So as of now, by default, it gets selected for this action as Chromium API. So this perform actions using debugger APIs, works only for Chromium elements, sends all text in the applications in one go. This works even if target app is not in focus conditions. And finally, we have Windows messages. So this simulates using Windows 32 messages, recommended for desktop applications, usually more reliable than hardware events. This sends all the text in the actions whenever we have, if target app is not in focus, then also it will work. So this is about the input method. Now, if we have selected or if we have the options of hardware element or Chromium API, generally this is get failed. When we have selected the simulate, we have to deselect at the end. If we want to add any other filter, we can include it. So if you have select Chromium API or hardware events, then we can use any of these four settings. If you have selected the simulate one, we are open to use the CD select or and. So based on your automations requirements or based on your UI automations requirement, you can select any of these options. So that's where we are calling as all the properties panel of selects or deselects. So we try to extract the informations from the page. We try to enter these informations, but don't worry, we'll perform end-to-end automations of this login page at the end as well. Just trying to understand each and every activities in detail. So here we have select. Yes.
Hey, Deepak, we had a question about simulate. This person doesn't understand any input mode except hardware input.
Okay. Okay. Button input mode except hardware. Fine. So let me go to the properties. So when I selected the first one, that is app or browser based, consider we have input mode. We are using the applications or browser activities in the beginning. So whatever properties we have selected, if you are selecting the app or browser, exactly same actions will get replicated. So the by default actions will be performed here for the options first. Now you already understand the hardware parts. So let me jump into the simulate one. So as I mentioned, consider we are trying to extract informations from the website which contains the username fields because this simulate API is recommended for the browser when we are using SAP enterprise applications or Java based applications, better to use this simulate actions. Usually it's more reliable than hardware events and sends all the text in single action itself. So as you can see the previous example, we are trying to get the information's complete username and then the admin text. It means we have label as well as their value. It will send entire actions in one. Consider we try to get the complete container detail, which will have username and password label as well as their values. So whenever we have selected the simulate, it will send out both the informations at one action itself. So that's where if we want this entire thing to be sent in the automations entirely within the single actions, that's where we are using the simulate actions. And it works even if target app is not in focus. If you have not focused application, then also it will run. Consider during the executions, my browser's focus got changed, then also it will work because whenever we are adding the activities, it target the exactly same application name. Third, we have Chromium API. So whenever we are selecting this third options, it works only for Chromium elements, where sends all the text in one go itself and work if the target application is not focused. So these are the different method, which input method, which we are trying to fill it. And generally, if we are using Chromium APIs like Google Chrome, if you're not using Google Chrome, generally it will not work. Whichever applications we are having compatibility with the Chromium API, it will work. And finally, the Windows messages. If we have selected Windows messages options into input method, whenever simulate using Win32 messages recommended majorly for the desktop applications like Notepad. If you are trying to automate the Notepad, better to use Windows messages. And this is much better than hardware events. So the purpose is simple enough for the entire input methods, generally to giving you more accuracy as well as the automations run in frequent step without any delay. Hope I was able to answer your questions.
Thanks so much for covering that. That was good.
Thank you, Emma. Now let me move to next thing. Yeah. So as I covered, because in these two are dependent. When we are selecting the hardware elements or Chromium, then only we have to add these fields according to the requirement itself. It means if we have selected hardware events, definitely this should be true. If we are keeping to false, it will not work as per the hardware events. It will again switch to the default one. Click before typing. If we want, we can select any of these options like single click or double click. Like when we are navigating into the browser, if I have to perform double click, then we can select these options. Or if we have to perform single, then we can select single one. As well as if you want to empty the fields, you can just remove whatever informations we have in text box and then it will start filling it. Sometimes what happen, some of the applications are not clearing those data which was filled in past executions. That's where this actions will be required. But depending on the requirements or your automation's purpose, you can adjust the fields and make it working according to your project's needs. And exactly same way, if you have selected the simulate, then this field will be enabled where you can target to add or update the informations. So these all are the settings or properties panel. Rest all settings are more or less similar, which we are using it. Let me add some lights on the page load events. So again, these are the very basic stuff, but it's very important when we are building any automations. Wait for the page load when we are performing the get this one, get text. I think I removed it here. Let me see if we have wait for yeah. Now we have normally wait for page load is having three options: none, interactive, and complete. So what does it means majorly for the wait for page loads? Before we perform any actions, this will wait for the applications to become ready to accept the input. It means uh, consider the applications or automations was just trying to load this page and progress bar is still continuing. It means might be some of the page data will be not available or not uploaded to the user screen. That's where we have to add those so that to make sure our automations will have whatever we needed at the time of executions. So there are three. One, if you are selecting none options, it does not wait for the target to be ready. Whenever the first action is completed, it will immediately hit or start running the next activity. When we have second options enabled or selected, that is interactive, it means it waits until only a part of the application is loaded, where we are performing the update operations or where we are performing the automations. So if um, all the page is not loaded and we are trying to fill this text box till the time it will wait, after that it will immediately start doing the executions. That's where username will start filling the informations. And when we have the complete, so it waits the entire applications to be loaded and then the automations actions will get started. So these three are again important part itself when we wanted to have the entire page available. Now moving to the applications, I was talking about select items. So here we have the third actions where I will select the second example. Now, this form is having drop down where sometimes we also need to select these fields where these options are selected at the runtime itself, and this will be captured according to the sometimes with Excel file or sometimes with some other use cases. So consider we have this example. We wanted to select these items as per the requirements. In that case, I will go to this one. We'll try to detect this page. Let me close it. So this is not a right one because we have added this one, this layout, but I'm just trying to explain you how we can save it. So this page should be open and let me, maybe I will build this separate one for this. Create a new sequence, select item. We'll add open app or browser or use applications. This entire screen will be selected. Then I'll just directly from here. We'll indicate the screen. I wanted to select this drop down now. Whenever I select this, you can see these all are the options available where we have the ID my select from the table and this select class page. Whenever I will confirm, it will add this information and you can see here within this I'm having all four options. Instead of just selecting set to 25%, I can even select set to 50%, set to 75%. And whenever this automation will start running based on selections, the value will be selected. And in terms of properties, you can also customize it from here itself, the items, whichever items we have selected, or we can add inside the from variable itself. So both the options are enabled. Whichever options you want, you can select it. And rest all the property settings are exactly similar. There's no much differences as I explained into type into or get text. So this is the activities or actions. Now let me show you for some more. Checkboxes is generally for checking or unchecking. I will cover this extract data table after the recording tool. So let's jump into the recording. Now, your automation is not only just having the activities or actions which is present in the screen or which is present in our activities panel. We can also perform this UI automations with the help of recording. So what does it means by recordings? Consider we have set of actions which we are performing it manually, like clicking somewhere, then the typing any informations in the web page, selecting the checkboxes, adding the drop-down menus, mouse over, or several other actions which we can perform. Whatever actions we are doing it manually for the first time, we can record all the steps which we have performed. And whenever we'll save it and run the executions, what happened, the entire automations will start triggering and we'll have the final uh, automations ready. So how we can do it? We have direct activities on our menu bar, that is app or web-based recorder. When we'll select this, it will start recording our manual steps which we are doing it, and at then it will store it. Now let me show you practically. We have the sites orange HRMS. Let's build the entire automations, login page automations, and quick steps. So here I will remove rest actions. I will remove everything. This I just wanted to keep this open browser or app launch. Now next is record. Whenever I click on this, it will start recording my steps. Options are exactly same what we are doing it manually with the different actions. However, we can record every steps in one go. Now here I wanted to feed the value. So I will select it and it will pop up what values I wanted to enter it. So first, whenever we are selecting this empty field, it will clear all the informations whatever we have in the text box and then start filling it. The fields I wanted to add as admin, that's done. So click before typing, just single click is required so that it will select the text boxes and uh, here you can add if you want any special keys. If you wanted to add tab or maybe enter or break or pause anything, you can do it here. Click on confirm and this is done. Next actions I wanted to add as password. Again, this is the text box entry. I will just add admin123 because that's the password of the website. Click confirm, it will get added. So second step also get added, which you can see it, the steps or the password, is it right or wrong? And finally, at the end, I wanted to click on login page. So based on the entry, it will enter into the page. That action also get recorded and I will click on close. That's what I wanted to save into automations. You can see it here. So it will try to perform login based on all the selections which I did. We'll save it, but if your requirement
It looks like Deepak froze, so we'll just wait for him to come back. Hey,
Sorry, I'm
Deepak.
not sure. I, I'm not sure what happened. I'm back.
Just took a little break. That's okay.
Okay, I think I was trying to make you understand like whatever actions we have selected that will get added, and finally we have those steps available. But any point of time you realize you wanted to just edit the target, click on this edit, and it will start giving you options to edit the option as well. And finally, our automation is ready. We have to just do the logout and run because this steps I did not touch anything. So I think this will do the logout. Perfect. Let me run this. So first, it will launch the applications or the browser where Orange HRMS website will be open. It will try to enter the details, username and password, and finally click on login. This language got changed.
I think the language here is different.
Yeah. Not sure how this got changed. No, this application itself is got updated. Maybe I'll record the entire step within the same language and we'll have this options available. I will delete the entire step and let's do the recording. Okay. Here. And admin, then the password is 23, and then click on corrections. Okay, maybe we'll run on this page. I'm just clearing my cache so that we can make it running for you guys. I think this website is having its. Let me open some other page. Maybe we'll use this one. Let's spread the automations for this one. We'll try to enter some of the fields here. So test is one, confirm test area is second field, test two, 1, 2, 3. Let's skip this one. Maybe I'll perform click actions. And this is the color where I will select this one. Okay, and adjust this little bit. Okay, we will call it 3 steps. Let me save it. Okay, now let me run this. You can see it's try to filling the informations, and we also added placeholder text fields. We have not added anything. We try to click on this let me purple. So let me refresh this page and just show you. Whenever we are opening the sites, generally button is in green color. So let me close it and run it again. So you will see the differences. So whichever actions we perform, exactly same thing, it will try to replicate it and we'll have the final output generated. This is the quickest way, but when we are using the recording for building any automations, make sure whichever data we are trying to enter it, keep it dynamic rather than keeping it static. So we can use Excel data if we want. We can use or call the Excel data to make it running into the dynamic. Otherwise, it will keeps repeating the entire set of the data or same set of the data. Third is when we are walking into automations, right? So here generally we find table related informations. So UI automations also demands extractions of table data, which we can easily achieve it by just single click. And how we can do it? Let me show you. I will build a new sequence, table extractions. And finally, we have activity here, table extractions. We'll just make it here. So in the table extractions, again, we'll find out the actions, auto, activity, activity, and UI automations. Based on the selections, you can set it and make it data or take out the data, which whatever data we have in the table. So first fields, I'm selecting account name. It will try to get the informations from the web page. What is the table? What all data we have within the tables? And it will give you an options. Would you like to extract all the columns from the table? Whenever you click yes, it will get all the column names immediately. As you can see here, you can compare. The first column is not having any column name. Second is account name. Third is country, opportunity, owner, stage, quantity, unit sell price. Everything is listed here, which you can also modify if you wanted to extract that value as a text, number, or dated time. Set this value and click on save and close. Whenever you will run the automations, entire thing will be extracted. And another important part is consider that page or table is having multi pages where we have 4 5 pages of record value that you can even extract it by just enabling this fields extract data from the multiple pages. And here you have to indicate the next button as well. It will keeps clicking on the next button unless and until data is extracted, and you will have entire thing listed in your automations. Now, because we don't have any data available for the next page, we don't need this one. Let me close it. Table extractions, select this. It will add everything And if you want to preview, you can see entire data is listed here, all the columns. If you have 150 columns, generally it will show you close to 10 or 15 or 20 records. After that, you will not see the preview mode. If you want, even we can export as CSV, or you can just save and close. Whenever you will run this automation, it will extract the table details or table data and save into the extract data table variable, which we can even call it out into the different instances. So that's these things are very much important and required when we are using automations or when we are using UI automations. The other one is computer visions. But generally, this recording is working when we are having Citrix environments or when we are unable to do the recording or data extraction through normal recorder, because some of the automations are legacy applications or automations which we are doing are on legacy applications. That's reason we are unable to fetch it. That's where we can use computer vision recorder as well. Or if you are working into virtual environment or Citrix environment, that's where you can use this computer vision. But when we are using computer visions, normally it is slower than regular automations. So that's all I have for today.
Hey, Deepak, can you
And
look at the chat? There's just one statement that just came in. It says, hi, I'm using the extract table activity with the same method, and only for a single run the data is extracted. For the second and more than the second run, the extract table activity is not working. I'm getting an error as selector failure.
yeah, I'm just reading it. I'm using it to extract data table activate the same methods. 100% of the data is extracted.
So in general, selectors play a major role while working with UI automations. So that's where fine tuning of selector is important because of the nature of the application that you are working on. And we talk about selectors more about selectors on the next session.
Oh, great. Thanks, Debbie.
Any other questions from anyone? Let me see.
Feel free to take yourself off mute if you want to ask a question.
Yeah, Deepak. So the multiple pages table extraction, like now we have seen only one page. Like
Yes. See,
when we click on
if you
next
have,
and when that I could not do that. Like
okay, and then I have to get the examples as well. If you have any examples, you can share with me. Generally, when we are doing the extractions, right? And maybe I will see, you have to enable it, and finally you have to indicate the next frame. Maybe I can show it to you for the Amazon size, but we don't have table formats here. Yeah, so if you set the settings right for the next page, it will work. Sorry. For the sites, we don't have next page available, but generally this is how we can fix it. Go to the screen and enable it, and after that, whenever we have the pages right, you can just indicate that next button and it will work. And finally, you have to close it. So if we have 4 or 5 pages, right? If you have 4 or 5 pages, don't just select the second one. Go to the end of the screens. It will keeps repeating it.
yeah, I have selected the next button there. And after selecting the next button, do I need to again indicate again I need to select the column, again I need to say like
No,
my table has headings and those all?
no.
Okay, then I'm encountered with an error there. Like after selecting the next page and then I'll once try it.
Yeah, as Devi said, might be because of the selectors. So you have to fine tune the selectors in such a way it will go and select the right next button. Generally, automation is also treating if you have 5 or 10 pages, right? And that 10 pages are ending with the ellipses at the end, probably then also we are getting the or encountering the error.
Yeah, thanks,
Hi,
Deepak.
Deepak.
I'll try.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Deepak. Prarthana here. Actually, I'm the one who gave that, like, I'm getting error for the second and more than 2 runs, like that. Even though I select strict selector or fuzzy selector, I'm getting the same error. I don't know how to resolve this. Like, from past 4 months, I'm trying that, but I'm not able to resolve this issue, even though with the strict or fuzzy selector. Like, what can I do on this? Actually, there is a problem with the UI, that the page, only that particular page is acting like this. The other pages are working fine, but I'm not able to resolve this.
So as you already mentioned, right, this is not related with the automations issues. Probably this is unresponsiveness or might be that application itself is having problem. So that could be a reason. Otherwise, you have to just adjust with the selectors settings. It will work. Or
Okay.
maybe if you have any specific error, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. Send me your error details. I will try to look into it. That also I can do.
If while selecting a selector, like, there will be, if there is a dynamic element as an attribute, like attribute name and attribute value will be there, no? If the value
Yeah.
is dynamic, how we can resolve this issue in table selection? Like, if it is other things, then we can just indicate the other static variable and we can resolve this. But in case of table extraction, how do we resolve this issue?
For the table extractions, we have to target the unique IDs, right? If you have a table ID or maybe class ID or the container where the table is placed, maybe you have to find it out the unique identifier. And with the help of unique identifier, you can adjust your selector. So see, first you start with the table ID. Second, maybe if table is having any class or any XPath, something like XPath, when you're trying to inspect the element, right? Within the inspections of the elements, you will have multiple options. Generally, the coder is adding the ID, name, class, as well as the container class as well. So try to get whichever fields is unique and make it adjustable. Else, second options you have to work on the positionings. If you don't have anything unique, it keeps changing everything. Then the try to adjust with the positions, x and y coordinates, but the feasibility of x and y coordinates might get disturbed if your screen size is zoom or off zoom. So you have to make sure of that as well.
Oh, thank you, Deepak.
No issues. Any other questions for anyone? Okay, that's all from my side. Over to you, Diana. Thanks a lot for joining the sessions.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. So make sure you copy chat. I put a lot of links in there on where you can register for the next session coming up on Wednesday. You guys are almost halfway through our session, so good job sticking with us. Thank you, Deepak, for a great session today. That was a lot to go through and it was very well done. So with that, you guys, we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday and if you have any questions, just please post them on the forum. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good day.